Welcome to Unjustified, where we always cover the truth, the facts, the good, the bad, the ugly, on an unbiased and sometimes very unpopular opinion. If you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe now and hit the notification bell, and that way you will receive all of our upcoming videos. Thank you so much for being here, and we do hope you enjoy today's video. An arrest warrant has just been discovered. This arrest warrant dates back 7 decades. It was found in an ancient file folder in a document box that was in the basement of a county courthouse in Jackson, Mississippi. This unserved arrest warrant from 1955 was charging the then 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant in the accomplishing of kidnapping 14-year-old Emmett Till. Emmett's body was found 2 days after his abduction from his uncle's home. He was brutally murdered and disposed of in the Tallahatchie River. Advocates for Emmett Till are calling for this warrant to still be served. Even though it's 70 years later, Carolyn is now in her late 80s and resides in Raleigh, North Carolina. This warrant was found by members of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, and it is dated for August the 29th, 1955. The search team from the Legacy Foundation that discovered the unserved warrant included living relatives of Emmett, a cousin, Deborah Watts, and her daughter, Terry Watts. These relatives are calling for authorities to serve this warrant and arrest Carolyn, who is now known as Carolyn Bryant Donham. Carolyn was married to Roy Bryant, who was one of the 2 men that kidnapped 14-year-old Emmett from his great-uncle's home. These 2 men were tried and acquitted only a few weeks later. Emmett's uncle testified in trial that he heard a lighter voice that was not a man being the one to tell these 2 men which boy Emmett was. A female identified Emmett to the men, and they took him. The lighter voice the uncle heard identify Emmett to the men was speculated to have been Carolyn. Carolyn was actually the sole reason why her husband and brother-in-law kidnapped and lynched 14-year-old Emmett. She had told her husband that he made inappropriate advances to her while she was working at her family store in Money, Mississippi in August of 1955. One of Emmett's cousins was also at the store, and he said that Emmett did whistle at Carolyn, and this was actually against the law at the time by the Mississippi Racial Social Code. Now, learning that this code of law ever actually existed is absolutely disgusting and pathetic. Evidence did indicate that a woman that was most likely Carolyn is the one that identified to her husband Roy and brother-in-law J.W. from inside of the pickup truck that was used to abduct Emmett. They were all 3 out looking for him that night to kidnap and even murder him for whistling at Carolyn. Evidence also proved that Carolyn had ruled out 2 other black teen boys as being the one that offended her at the store before pointing Emmett out at his uncle's home and identifying him to the 2 men that ultimately killed him. This newly found arrest warrant included the names of Roy Bryant, J.W. Mellum, and Carolyn. The arrest warrant was for kidnapping, and the warrant was issued even before Emmett's body was located in the Tallahatchie River. At the time the arrest warrant was issued against Carolyn, it was public and publicized. However, the sheriff at the time told all the reporters that he did not want to bother Miss Bryant because she had 2 young sons to care for. The current district attorney, Dwayne Richardson, he would be the one prosecuting this case with his office. If it indeed does go back to court, he has declined to comment on the warrant, but he did state in a report that no prosecution was possible here. On Wednesday, June the 29th, the current LaFleur County Sheriff, Ricky Banks, said, quote, "This is the first time I have heard about the warrant. Nothing was said about there being any warrant 5 or 6 years ago when the former DA investigated this case." End quote. The current sheriff was only 7 years old when Emmett was killed. He said that he was going to try and obtain a copy of the warrant, and he would be getting with the DA and get their opinion on it to see if it could still be served. And he will also need to talk to the law enforcement in the state of North Carolina, where Carolyn now resides. A law professor from the University of Mississippi has also said that arrest warrants do go stale due to the passage of time and changing of laws and circumstances, and a warrant from 1955 would not hold up before a court even if the sheriff does agree to serve it. However, if the warrant is combined with any new evidence, then it absolutely would be a very important stepping stone to establishing probable cause for a new prosecution. 14-year-old Emmett Till did not even live in Mississippi when this happened to him. He was only visiting with relatives when he went inside the store that 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant was working. Now, even though Emmett's cousin said that he did whistle at Carolyn, Carolyn added more to this story when she testified in court. She said that Emmett also grabbed her and made lewd comments to her, and there was never any witnesses at all that ever confirmed those accusations she made against Emmett. 2 nights later, on August the 26th, 1955, Carolyn's then-husband, Roy Bryant, and his half-brother, J.W. Mellum, showed up armed at Emmett's great-uncle's home in LaFleur County, and they were looking for Emmett. And only days later, after Roy and J.W. took Emmett from his uncle's home, his mangled body was found and pulled from the Tallahatchie River, which is in another county. His body was weighted down with a fan that was strapped to him. Emmett's mother's decision to open his casket at his funeral so mourners in Chicago could see what had been done to her 14-year-old son.
I looked at Mr. Rayner, and Mr. Rayner wanted to know, was I going to have the casket opened? I said, "Oh yes, we're going to open the casket." He said, "Well, do you want me to do something for the face? Want me to try to fix it up?" I said, "No, let the people see what I see." I said, "I want the world to see this."
Helped to start the building of the civil rights movement of the time. Roy Bryant and J.W. Mellum were totally acquitted of Emmett's murder. However, later when they were interviewed for a magazine article, they both admitted that they did kill Emmett to the magazine reporter. But authorities did not pursue the case following their acquittal, even with them later admitting that they did indeed murder Emmett Till. Emmett's family says that warrants do not expire, and we want to see that the warrant is finally served on her. It's long past time that Carolyn was arrested for her role in Emmett's kidnapping, as well as possibly being a part of the slaying itself. But even if the warrant is served, there is going to be problems and even roadblocks that will arise here. Witnesses have since passed away in the 7 decades since Emmett was lynched, and the evidence that were collected at the time are not available any longer, and it is not even known what has happened to them. Carolyn has not commented publicly about these calls for her prosecution, but an FBI agent who did question her more than 15 years ago also said when he spoke with her that she did not seem to even know that her name was also included in the arrest warrant of her husband Roy and her brother-in-law J.W., and he went on to say that I do not think she even recalled being named in that warrant, even though it was publicized, because she acted very surprised when I even mentioned it to her. An author that spoke with Carolyn claimed that Carolyn told him that she made the whole story up, that Emmett never actually approached her at all. But Carolyn did deny telling the author this, and the author could not produce any recordings or transcripts to confirm the allegations. The filmmaker of the 2007 documentary that is titled The Untold Story of Emmett Lewis Till says that there is enough evidence to prosecute Carolyn. And if we are saying we are a country of truth and justice, we must get truth and justice, no matter the age or gender of the person involved. Both Roy Bryant and J.W. Malem have passed away decades ago, leaving Carolyn as the lone survivor that was directly involved in the lynching of Emmett Till. This is a sign that is now placed outside where the grocery store used to be, and it did belong to the family of Carolyn Bryant. And it reads, 14-year-old Emmett Till came to this site to buy candy in August of 1955. White shopkeeper Carolyn Bryant accused the black youth of flirting with her, and shortly thereafter, Till was abducted by Bryant's husband and his half-brother. Till's tortured body was later found in the Tallahatchie River. The two men were tried and acquitted, but later sold their murder confession to Look magazine. Till's death received international attention and is widely credited with sparking the American Civil Rights Movement. I included Emmett's case and his story in a video that I made a few months ago. The title of the video is The Most Notorious Crime Cases in America by State. Emmett's case, I felt, is extremely unjustified, and I had hoped that maybe it would bring more attention to his case. Unfortunately, this was not one of my more popular case videos, so not many actually heard about his case through my channel. However, I will link that video at the end in the description box. It is time-stamped by state, and Emmett's, of course, will be from Mississippi. Rest in peace, Emmett, and I do pray that you get the justice that you so deserve. I also feel that Carolyn Bryant absolutely should be held responsible for her role. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, this is Unjustified. Thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave us a comment below on your thoughts of this video. And until next time, this is Unjustified.